Hello, today I am talking about the book Good Different by Meg Eden Kuyatt. This is a middle grade novel in verse. Earlier this year, I read The Girl on the Walls by the same author, and I loved that book. I wanted to read more of her work, and this is a book that she published before that. This book is about a 7th grade girl named Selah who is autistic, but at the beginning she actually does not know that, which I liked because usually in these stories they're aware of it. Like in The Girl on the Walls, the main character is aware of her neurodivergence. This character is not, but she definitely feels different. She expresses all these things. I didn't even realize at first that she didn't know that about herself because it seemed obvious with the way she talked about herself, but she didn't know that yet. She goes to a private school that she's been going to for years. It's not a school specifically for neurodivergent kids, I should add. She likes that her school has all these rules that you are supposed to follow. She likes how things stay the same. She also has a lot of rules that she's been taught by her mom for being normal, but sometimes these rules are hard to keep up with, and even when you follow them, they don't always seem to work. She struggles with certain situations at school. She gets overwhelmed and hides in the bathroom at sleepovers with other girls from her school. She has these new neighbors that are really loud, always having these noisy parties and huge bonfires, and that bothers her. And then even the next day she can't get everything out of her mind. And after going to school and going through all these rules and pretending to be normal, she's exhausted and feels the need to recharge before the next day. Although there are people at school she talks with, she feels that nobody really wants to talk about dragons with her. She has a special interest in dragons and often feels like she is one. I enjoy hearing about people's special interests, and the more I read this, the more I understood why she likes dragons so much, because I personally am not super into dragons, but I'll listen to other people talk about them, and it made more sense to me the more I read. And I enjoy when people can articulate why their special interests are theirs, like why they have them, what appeals to them about them. Selah's mom doesn't really seem to understand why Selah is struggling the way she does, why she feels the way she does. And then one day there is an incident where Selah hits another student. And this, of course, gets her in trouble at school. People at school are afraid of her. Her mother is displeased with her, of course, and she's just having a hard time because she doesn't want people to be afraid of her. But at the same time, she is just overwhelmed and does not feel that she can keep going on pretending to be normal. So I think she struggles with knowing that what she did wasn't okay and wanting to be better, but also not really knowing how, and she doesn't really know why she is the way she is. So I think this book is about her journey from then on and discovering about who she is. Although her mom doesn't really seem to understand, her grandfather, her mom's dad, lives right next door, and Selah and her grandpa have a close relationship, and he seems to be very similar to her and understands her. I loved this book. I thought it was very good. I found it very enjoyable and relatable right away from the first page. I could relate to a lot of things in this book, such as the sensory sensitivities and other people not quite understanding why they're such a big deal, trouble tuning things out, being a people pleaser and being terrified of saying or doing the wrong thing and upsetting people, the anxiety, handling big events, communication difficulties, like feeling like you have to say something but feeling unsure of how to word it or feeling unable to talk about it, not liking conflict, retreating to bathrooms. I was very invested and enjoyed my whole time reading this. Now, I don't expect every book to have every page be enjoyable and to like it right away. Like, some books take time, so it's totally fine if books are like this. But it's also really nice when a book is really good like this, and I just really love it. Like how I felt with The Girl on the Walls, I feel that this author is great at putting her thoughts and feelings into words, and this being a novel in verse, I found it easier to understand than some other novels in verse I've read with the writing style, and I also feel that her metaphors are easy to understand. I also enjoyed the private school setting. I feel like I don't see much of that, but it's more personally relatable for me. There's also some stuff in here about a fantasy convention, and I enjoyed that part very much. This book goes over accommodations, it goes over masking, especially some pretty extreme examples of being high masking. This book goes over misconceptions about autistic people and how some people view them and don't really understand them, or the full variety of the spectrum. And we see how people treat Selah and how she's misunderstood, and I felt a lot of empathy, but also a lot of joy for her. There is joy as well in this book. It's not all her struggling. Something I really loved about this book and the author's other work I've read is the inclusion of showing not just children but older people as well who are autistic and older family members. I love the awareness of that and how she writes how that presents in them. I like that the protagonist isn't perfect. Obviously no one is, but if it's fiction and someone's writing it, then they could make them that way, and the protagonist of books can sometimes be people who always do the right thing and who are always kind, which of course is unrealistic, but I did like that in this book there is a lot of good character development with a lot of the characters, not just the main one. I really liked the author's note at the end where the author talks a little bit about her own experiences and how she feels about being autistic, and I like that she sees so much good and positivity in it. I feel similarly about myself. I like that she embraces it and loves it and wouldn't change it for anything, and that she writes that into her protagonists as well. There were some other things I really liked about this book, but I want this video to be spoiler free. But if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts, I do have that on my Goodreads and Storygraph reviews. I think this is a very important book. I think that a lot of people will see themselves in it, or maybe learn something about themselves they didn't know and how they operate, and that changes everything once you know that. Or for neurotypical people, it could give them a perspective of what everyday life can be like for neurodivergent people. I say can be like because it's different for everyone, of course, but I thought there were some really good examples in this book because it goes over multiple ways that Sayla struggles, especially before even knowing how her brain works. I really liked The Girl on the Walls, but I think I liked this book even more than that. A while back ago, I had said that Louder Than Hunger by John Shu was the best novel in verse I had read, and it had been a while with all the novels in verse I've been reading recently when I've thought about what the best I've read was, and if that's been overpowered. Like, did I like The Girl on the Walls more? I'm not sure. Did I like this more than Louder Than Hunger? That's kind of tough because Louder Than Hunger is longer. This was definitely more personally relatable for me. Louder Than Hunger is also very powerful though, and I felt like this was too, and I think ultimately maybe Good Different takes the spot for the best novel in verse I've read so far. There is a sequel to this book called Perfect Enough that is coming out this June, so the month that this video is going to be released in, and I will absolutely be reading that as well. Like, sometimes I find out that there's a sequel to a book, or that there's going to be one, and sometimes I don't feel as strong about it. I'm like, I'll just read this one. But with this, I absolutely want to read the rest and see where that goes, especially now that Sayla knows who she is. And I am also curious about how her story ends up, because I wouldn't say the book ends on a cliffhanger necessarily, but it's kind of just like, you don't know what exactly happens when it comes to a certain part of her journey. And I would like to know, like, I do like when books aren't predictable. Like, sometimes I'm like, well, I know this is going to work out in the end, or this is going to happen, but I like some books like this where I genuinely don't really know how it's going to end. And I liked that this was more realistic and contemporary than The Girl on the Walls. With The Girl on the Walls, when I heard it was a ghost story, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that. Not that I can never enjoy a ghost story or anything to do with fantasy or anything. I absolutely can, but I like a lot of regular stuff too. But I feel like the way it was done in The Girl on the Walls was very well done. Yeah, this was just really good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy reading books with characters I can strongly relate to. There's a quote at the top by Al McNichol, another autistic author I really like, and it says, "Relatable, profound, and beautifully heartfelt." I loved it, and I would say I agree with that quote. There's also an award on here. It's the Schneider Family Book Award Honor Book. So I think that is all I have to say about Good Different by Meg Eden Kuyatt. This is definitely 5 stars for me. Not a 4.75 or anything, but just definitely 5 stars. If you've read anything by this author or anything similar, or this book specifically, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and thank you for watching.